tourism-dependent destinations such as Jamaica went into a tailspin at the beginning of the year when Canada announced that for all Canadians and for all visitors entering Canada, they would have to provide negative COVID-19 test results. And Jamaica shuddered, particularly because that's a market that previous to that announcement did not even need to have negative test results to enter Jamaica. And so panic ensued and travelers started canceling. Just as we were trying to come to grips with that situation and the fact that there were simply not enough test sites in Jamaica and particularly close to the corridor that was established safe and sterile for visitors, the fallout from tourism became imminent. While we were still trying to fix that, the US, via the CDC, dropped another bombshell requiring all visitors and nationals, residents, everybody returning or entering the US by air to have accompanying them negative test results for COVID-19. People started canceling in droves. Travel agents were seeing absolute dismal days on the horizon, having labored, converted cruise bookings to land vacations, convinced ardent cruisers that you will have the time of your life at a resort in Jamaica. And then, based on this requirement, persons were just, I think, fed up, decided, you know what, we're just not going to travel. There are just too many requirements, too many changes. The costs are stacking up. And so staying home or doing those long spoken of or never spoken of staycation trips started to look quite attractive. But today, I have good news for you. And I wouldn't even spoil the good news by stating that the UK also came in with these requirements, and so our source markets of the United States, Canada, and the UK would have put a serious damper on our winter season. We were happy to hear the comprehensive package that was presented by our tourism minister, Ed Bartlett, through an interview with the Gleaner, and it was reassuring, and such good news should be shared. And so instead of paraphrasing it and running the risk of leaving something out, I will share it in its entirety with you. Minister Bartlett?
Develop the infrastructure to secure the quantities of testing reagents and or to enable the viral testing methods that are approved by WHO, PAHO, and approved also by the CDC and the FDA. So all visitors who come to Jamaica will be able to access whether antigen, PCR, or whatever approved testing arrangements to enable them to fulfill the requirements of their respective countries for re-entry.
Minister, last week you named a special task force to spearhead the initiative to ramp up our testing capacity. What exactly has the task force put in place?
Well, the task force has done a wide range of work, one of which is to assess and determine the capacity to respond to the need for testing of all visitors going back to their country. And I'm pleased to say that that work is completed, and we're able to report positively that the labs are all accredited and sourced. And we have also established two redundancy arrangements, one close to the Montego Bay Airport and that's the convention center in Montego Bay, and the other one is in Port Royal at the cruise ship terminal there. So what we're saying is that the team has worked with all our partners, the hotels, to enable facilities at the hotel for testing at the hotel and or sample gathering at the hotel. Have made arrangements for technology facilitation, so portals are established with labs that enable payments sometimes to be made even ahead of the visitor coming to Jamaica, but that the seamless arrangement is in place to facilitate all the needs that the visitor would have to satisfy the requirements of their countries to return home.
Which hotels are offering testing on site?
Most of the hotels, especially the larger ones, you know, I don't want to call the names, but my report from JHTA is that all major hotels are providing the facilities.
So what about smaller hotels that don't have on-site testing facilities?
The smaller hotels are being facilitated through these centers that we're establishing in the resort areas. I made reference to that. Besides, the way the labs are distributed across Jamaica enables this. Then there's also transportation arrangements that will allow for movement of visitors from their small hotels, villas, and or apartments into these centers for testing.
So, Minister, what happens to visitors who test positive?
Well, there is a positive care management program that is being structured. The hotels themselves would be the first respondent in that they allow for visitors to stay on property in designated area throughout the period, especially if they are asymptomatic, to fulfill the requirements to enable them to go back home. We are also concluding now arrangements for an end-to-end insurance policy that will enable post-positive care for all visitors, so that by having this coverage, you'll be able to seamlessly get into a care system.
So, Minister, how will these new requirements impact the tourism sector?
Well, the implications of these new requirements are very, very challenging for the industry. The truth is that we already are very hampered by existing protocols, and new ones now only add to that burden. It's moving costs up, it's reducing volumes in, and it is going to have implications in terms of the viability of some of the entities. There's no question about that. However, what it is not affecting is the quality and the high experience levels that the Jamaican product offers, and that we are still the finest destination to come to, and that you can come and fulfill, you know, your own passions and expectations. So what we have not allowed these variables to affect is the quality of the experience that you get when you visit Jamaica.
What are your views on the quarantine requirement announced by President Biden?
It's hard to comment on a foreign policy arrangement, especially from where we sit in tourism. However, we think that, you know, countries have to do what they feel are the best for the security and protection of their people. We have to work with it. We have to encourage compliance, while at the same time ensuring that, you know, the ability to come and visit Jamaica is still there. Bearing in mind that the policy is not to prevent you from traveling at all. What it does is to ensure that when you do, you are protected and you protect your country when you get back.
So, based on the rollout of vaccines, what are the prospects, in your view, for tourism within the next year?
Well, vaccine could be the savior. In fact, the world is now preoccupied with getting a sufficient volume to enable a spread across the globe. Certainly, for us, the bigger hope is that we, on a local level, will be able to cover our population, but also that our source markets are able to do likewise. And I think we're encouraged by the fact that our largest market, the US, is really being very aggressive about vaccination. And President Biden himself has set a target of, I think, 100,000 people in the first 100 days. If we do that and do better, then we could see a tourism coming back by September, certainly October, and we could look forward to 21-22 winter season that would be close to what we had, in probably 2017, 2016. And then, tourism is resilient, as you know. It grows faster than any other industry. And so we are likely to see a full bounce back of the industry by 23, 24.
Thank you, Minister Bartlett. Now, as the slogan goes, Jamaica is the land of all right. And it's all right. It's really all right here. Our resorts are open for business. Our workers are trained and ready to welcome you. Our attractions are as lush and as beautiful as they've ever been. Some have seen upgrades, some have been refurbished, some have had the foliage return in all its beauty. And so I conclude today's presentation by saying Jamaica is waiting for you. What are you waiting on? Ciao for now.